The achievement is supposed to be the pyramid above us that rises out of the desert floor. But actually, it's this labyrinth. These tunnels just keep on going on and on and on.
Archaeologists and historians have always been fascinated by ancient tombs. These tombs frequently contain priceless artifacts and details about the societies that produced them. However, some tombs have mysterious rooms that don't make sense. These rooms may have enigmatic objects or symbols that are frequently hidden from view. These hidden rooms' motivations are frequently a mystery. While some academics think they were used for rituals, others think they were merely safe havens for treasures. Whatever the cause, archaeologists and historians are still baffled by these hidden spaces. Starting with the Saturn Who, a puzzling burial mound in England. A travel to Egypt, one of the most important archaeological discoveries of all time, weighted in 1922 by archaeologist Howard Carter, with the financial support of Lord Carnarvon. The almost completely unaltered tomb of Tutankhamun. A flight of stairs leading to a locked door and beyond was finally found by Carter after years of futile digging in the Valley of Kings. Inside the tomb were 4 rooms packed with artifacts that provided a priceless window into the richness, elegance, and culture of ancient Egypt, a world that has been unaltered for more than 3,000 years. Over 8 years, Carter and his crew methodically recorded these artifacts, numbering more than 5,000 in total. Chariot statues, a ceremonial fan, food and wine jars, and the Kid King's things were among the valuables. The stone pyramid with 3 nested coffins served as the piece of resistance. The last piece was made of pure gold. The young king's mummy was within, and it was adorned with one of the most exquisite works of art in the entire world, a glittering funerary mask made of lapis lazuli and gold. One of the most well-known representations of ancient Egypt is this mask, which is made of solid gold and weighs roughly 22.6 pounds. Due to the tomb's historical, archaeological, and cultural significance, valuing its artifacts is practically impossible. The price of gold alone for the burial mask today would be over $600,000. But the real value lies far beyond the cost of materials if we were to only take into account the raw materials. The treasures were insured for an estimated $36 million when they exploded in the late 1970s. Although the value of this window into ancient Egypt is incalculable, it would be close to $144 million in today's money, adjusted for inflation. In 1622 Spain, from Cuba, a heavily equipped galleon sailed towards Spain, laden with limitless wealth that had been taken from the New World: 24 tons of silver bullion, 180,000 silver coins, copper ingots, gold coins, emeralds, and other priceless gems were among the treasures aboard the Atocha. But destiny had other ideas for this ship. It was captured by a violent hurricane just a day after setting sail, sinking close to the Florida Keys and carrying its riches to the bottom of the ocean. Enter treasure hunter Mel Fisher, who spent 16 arduous years looking for the Atocha. Fisher overcame poverty, skepticism, and the devastating loss of his son and daughter-in-law while on the beach. A tribute to his unwavering faith that he would uncover the Atocha, Fisher's ambition was realized in July 1985. The bulk of the Atocha, quantity of silver bars, and other artifacts was discovered in the ship's missing cargo core. It was a huge treasure found in Oka. Fisher referred to it as the Mother Lode. The hoard included 40 tons of gold and silver, 114,000 pieces of 8 gold and silver coins from Spain, golden chains encrusted with Colombian emeralds, and several other artifacts. Even if the value of the recovered gold and silver is currently over $400 million, the story is far from over. Even though the main pile of the Atocha has been found, many of the ship's precious jewels are believed to still be scattered on the ocean floor, lost to the sands of time, waiting for the next Mel Fisher to declare, "Today's the day." Our final destination lies beneath the Atlantic Ocean, a world away from the Silk Road, where the story of the SS Central America unfolds, also known as the Ship of Gold. The SS Central America was a 280-foot side-wheel steamer that operated between Central America and the eastern coast of the United States during the 1850s. In September 1857, she was caught in a hurricane and sank off the coast of the Carolinas, carrying with her a treasure trove that was essential to the California gold rush. The ship was carrying an ample number of gold prospectors who had just returned from California with their precious coins and nuggets. A loss of the estimated 21 tons of gold the ship was carrying at the time of its sinking contributed to the Panic of 1857, a financial catastrophe that shook the United States. Let's go back to the 1980s, when a team under the direction of Marine engineer Tommy Thompson found the shipwreck and salvaged some of its wealth. They did it using developing technology and an in-depth investigation. The treasure that they managed to bring up from the seabed included thousands of gold coins, hundreds of gold ingots, and countless gold nuggets. The exact value of SS Central America's treasure is difficult to determine, as it depends on the weight, purity, and collector value of the individual pieces. However, the recovered gold that was initially insured for $100 million when it was brought up in the late 1980s. Auctions of the treasure have since brought in tens of millions of dollars, and the full value of the recovered gold is thought to exceed $150 million. The majority of the treasure still lies at the bottom of the ocean. Its exact worth is unknown, but undoubtedly colossal. The tale of the SS Central America is a reminder that sometimes the sea keeps the most glittering secrets. Our journey now takes us to 1978 in Afghanistan, when a Soviet archaeological team working in the region of Joseon, close to Shigan in northern Afghanistan, discovered 6 burial mounds. There was a remarkable discovery made at the locations known as Golden Hill or Tilia Tepe, a treasure hoard from the ancient Bactrians, a nomadic tribe. Over 20,000 pieces of jewelry and priceless items from the 1st century BC were found in the tombs, including golden bracelets, necklaces, medallions, crowns, belts, and even boots. Buckles with elaborate designs that combine inspirations from the Hellenistic, Indian, Chinese, and nomadic cultures. The most iconic piece from the hoard is perhaps the collapsible crown of one of the female nobles, adorned with the Tree of Life motif, showing the sublime craftsmanship of the time. The treasure, commonly referred to as the Bactrian gold, offers a golden window into the life, culture, and wide-reaching connections of the ancient Silk Road. But what's even more remarkable is the story of its survival. During the turbulent years that followed its discovery, the Bactrian gold was thought to have been lost or stolen. However, it was safely hidden away in a vault in Kabul, only to be rediscovered in 2003, thereby safeguarding an invaluable part of humanity's shared cultural heritage. So what is the worth of this magnificent treasure trove? Placing a value on archaeological artifacts is challenging, but expert estimates suggest that the gold alone could be worth over $200 million. However, the historical and cultural significance of the Bactrian gold makes it important in many ways. Truly priceless. Imagine Edith, a beautiful, wealthy landowner who is captivated by the odd soil and mounds on her property in the tranquil countryside of Suffolk, England in the year 1939. Archaeologist Basil Brown is a self-taught researcher. Basil pierces the greatest mound center as it works. He finds an undisturbed ship burial, which is extremely unusual for its sort. The grave belongs to a prominent person from the 7th century, most likely a king or a brave warrior. Although the ship's length of 27 meters was astounding, its cargo was much more amazing. A variety of objects with unmatched artistry and material wealth that represented the apex of the Anglo-Saxon eras were buried there. Weapons with artistic and technological qualities included a sword and a shield that were both extremely decorative and set with garnets. There were around 40 gold pieces discovered, including a 400-gram belt buckle. The ornately decorated helmet, a symbol of sovereignty and marshalling prowess, restored from hundreds of fragments into a magnificent piece of history, was undoubtedly the most famous discovery. It was also discovered alongside intricate shoulder clasps adorned with garnets, and intricate filigree work, coins from French mints, and a purse filled with gold coins. Now, estimating the monetary value of the Sutton treasure is challenging because it's not just about the weight of the gold, but also the historical and cultural significance, which is simply incalculable. For comparison, a single artifact from the Staffordshire hoard, another Anglo-Saxon treasure, was valued at £3.285 million, or about $4.3 million in today's terms. And the Sutton finds are even more significant. Though we can't add a specific dollar amount to the Sutton who treasures it, its valuable insight into the Anglo-Saxon world's spirituality, artistry, and power dynamics makes it a priceless treasure of humanity. Moving away from the royal tombs and drowned ships, we are in a peaceful town in futuristic Bulgaria. Three brothers were mining clay here in 1949 to make bricks when they discovered a magnificent golden artifact, sparking a discovery that would jolt the archaeological community. The treasure, a golden hoard from the 4th to 3rd centuries BC, had been unearthed by the brothers. 9 vessels make up the treasure, including 3 wine jugs and 4 scribes. Each of these objects was elaborately embellished with images from Greek mythology and custom, illuminating the people's vast and rich cultural heritage. The amphora on the right, one of the most beautiful pieces, is thought to be a ceremonial vessel. It is made of gold and decorated with scenes showing a thrashing monarch and a procession of servants, soldiers, and elders, providing us with an insight into the aristocratic lifestyle of the time. Not just the gold itself, but also the excellent craftsmanship, the gorgeous detailing, and the artful storytelling are what most astonish about this discovery. When the cultural, historical, and raw gold values are added together, the treasure weighs about 6.164 kilograms of 24-karat gold. This treasure is thought to be valued of at least $200 million. Can you put a price on a discovery that has unlocked so many secrets of a long-lost civilization? For many, the true value of this treasure is not in dollars and cents, but its priceless contribution to our understanding of the human past. So, where you have it, an odyssey through time and space chasing gold. History and the human spirit from Sutton, whose ghostly ship to the sunken SS Central America, and from the Golden Pharaoh to Tutankhamun's resting place, to the Thracian exquisite golden hoard in nature. We've uncovered not just treasures, but narratives, civilizations, and cultures that once flourished. After all, we know the real treasure lies not in gold or gems, but in the knowledge and understanding we gain. We view prisons as contemporary institutions that are used to punish those who violate social norms. But did you realize that our forebears too experienced various forms of incarceration? From England to the ancient Maya, from Rome to Persia. There are several examples of human attempts to prevent and punish crime throughout history. But these were not jails in the traditional sense. Let's travel back in time to some of the most horrifying and fascinating jails to have ever existed. How were the prisoners treated there? What strange and frightful ceremonies did they practice? The notorious Mamertine prison, located in the center of Old Rome, is our first stop. The ancient structure from this century, which is drenched with tales of brutality, offers a horrifying peek into how the powerful Roman Empire dealt with its opponents. You see, discipline, order, and punishment were nothing new to the Romans. The structure, or rather lack thereof, of the Mamertine prison is one aspect that stands out. There were no bars, cells, or guards in this place. It was more akin to a gloomy, dark trench that had been excavated directly from the surface of the earth. It was mostly underground, situated at the foot of Capitol Line Hill, and functioned more like a dungeon than a traditional prison. It was described as damp and dreary, one chamber above another. The Tulanium chamber, which was roughly 12 feet high and 30 feet broad and deep, and could hold a sizable number of captives, was where inmates were originally placed. The location, nevertheless, was anything but cozy. The real horror was the lower chamber, which featured a single aperture at the top through which inmates were lowered into the shadows using a rope or chain. Prisoners who had been given a death sentence were transferred here. This room was smaller, darker, and suffocatingly tighter than the Tulanium, and was notorious for its harsh circumstances. Historical records as old as 22 centuries suggest that the Mamertine prison was often used to contain high-profile prisoners, enemies of the state. One notable inmate was said to be St. Peter, one of the disciples of Jesus Christ, who was allegedly incarcerated here before his execution. But it was not just the physical torment that made the Mamertine prison famous. The psychological terror of being in such a place, the oppressive darkness, the dreadful anticipation of passing, and the agonizing wake of execution. These were perhaps even more tormenting than the actual physical conditions of the prison. Indeed, the Mamertine prison serves as a chilling reminder of Rome's darker side, and a testament to the empire's harsh, often brutal system of justice. Let's continue our journey eastward to the historic city of Xanthos, which was formerly a part of the Persian Empire and is now in modern-day Turkey. Instead of a structure or even a large complex, the Xanthos wooden horse served as the prison in this instance. This wooden contraption, referred to as the horse in ancient literature, served as a horrifying tool for both punishment and confinement. The horse acted as a hideous echo of the renowned Trojan horse, displaying the very innovative, if not horrifying, methods of imprisonment in the ancient world. However, this was a receptacle for anguish and suffering, rather than a group of troops. Prisoners were stuffed into the horse, their bodies twisted to fit the claustrophobic confines. Once inside, the blistering sun by day and the bitter cold at night left them defenseless against the elements. But the horror of the wooden horse did not end there. It was elevated well above the earth, making it nearly impossible for a prisoner to escape once they were inside. The horse was a frightening type of punishment due to the combination of public humiliation, physical pain, and the psychological torment of being imprisoned inside this wooden behemoth. Moreover, the wooden horse was not used for long-term incarceration. Instead, it was an end-of-life sentence. Prisoners placed inside the horse rarely survived the ordeal, as the grueling conditions led to exhaustion, dehydration, and eventually their untimely deaths. The wooden horse of Xanthos serves as a chilling reminder of the inventive and brutal forms of punishment humanity can devise. We move a little north and arrive in the center of London, England. The Bridewell Jail, one of ancient Europe's oldest and most infamous prisons, once stood here. The Bridewell was built in the 16th century to serve as Henry VII's residence. However, it was destined to change into something much more evil, a house of correction, a penitentiary for the city's beggars, vagrants, and minor offenders. Even though the structure was spectacular, with over 100 rooms and a large courtyard, the brutal reality of life inside its walls was in sharp contrast to the palace's opulence. Prisoners inside the Bridewell underwent an unusual kind of treatment that prioritized repentance above punishment. Hard labor was required of Bridewell inmates, since it was seen as a reformative tool and a way to change their slothful behavior. The work was difficult. While males were put to work on physically taxing duties, women were frequently employed in beating hemp for rope under the strict supervision of jail personnel. The severity of its penalties, though, was what earned Bridewell its notoriety. These were public as well as physical. For instance, whipping was a regular method of discipline that was often used at the whipping post. This served a twofold purpose that was clear to everyone. It was a form of correction for the prisoners, but it also served as a deterrent for the onlookers. A chilling demonstration of what awaited those who stepped out of line. But life in Bridewell wasn't just about work and punishment. It also served as a refuge for the homeless and destitute. Yes, it was a prison, but in a time when social services were virtually non-existent, it also provided shelter and a form of social security for those who had nowhere else to go. The Bridewell prison, despite its brutal reputation, provides an intriguing glimpse into the early evolution of the modern penal system. It was here that the concept of reformation through labor was first put into practice. A notion that, for better or worse, has been a mainstay of prisons around the world ever since. But let's not forget the Americas. Drifting our gaze across the Atlantic, we find ourselves in the heart of the ancient Mayan civilization, renowned for their advanced mathematics, calendar systems, and, of course, their brutal penal codes. Notably, we have the notorious Catala prison, a living illustration of the severe and terrifying Mayan justice system. Catala was more than just a prison. It was a place of punishment, created to cause maximum anguish and shame. This was intended to be reflected in the prison's very architecture. The limestone bedrock was directly carved in to create vertical prison cells known as chultuns, from which there was no escape. Kilazo's frightening qualities came from its psychological and spiritual aspects in addition to its physical shape. The Mayans had a great reverence for the ground and thought that one of the harshest penalties was to be buried alive. In this light, the Chiltons of Catala represented not just a physical incarceration, but a spiritual defilement. Conditions in Catalawa were harsh even by ancient standards. Prisoners were subjected to physical and psychological torture. They were deprived of food and water, left to endure the sweltering heat, and tormented by the knowledge of their impending doom. There's also a grim irony to Catala's purpose. The Mayans used chiltuns as a method of water storage during the dry season, which was essential for their survival. Yet these same life-giving structures were also used as a tool of torment, a stark reminder of the dual nature of human innovation. The chilling echo of Catala still resonates today. It's a stark reminder of the brutality of the ancient world. Something you might not have anticipated is this: an iconic incarceration system from ancient Egypt, a civilization that has enthralled us for millennia, has been documented on Elephantine Island. In addition to physical confinement, inmates were also subjected to psychological torture. Ancient Egypt had a distinctive jail system that was housed on the island of Elephantine and the Nile. Prisoners were transported by ferry to the island, where they were left to languish in isolation from civilization in the merciless Nile. However, the captivity went beyond solitary confinement. The culture of ancient Egypt was very spiritual and had a strong belief in the afterlife. Mummification was a prevalent practice because people felt a person's body needed to be preserved to enter the afterlife. The scary phase is about to start. Using punishment and terror to instill prison guards on Elephantine Island allegedly threatened to dump the bodies of deceased inmates into the Nile. For these prehistoric people, the thought of their bodies being lost or destroyed and therefore preventing them from entering the afterlife was terrible, making their detention a grave spiritual penalty in addition to a physical one. Records from Elephantine Island also point to difficult living circumstances. The prisoners were put to hard labor, forced to quarry stone and load boats under the scorching Egyptian sun. Food and water were scarce, and the hot, dry air made life impossible and incredibly difficult. So, there we have it, a journey into the brutal realities of ancient incarceration, from the suffocating Mamatine prison to the psychologically terrifying Elephantine Island prison. We've seen how prisons were not just physical institutions, but psychological ones as well. These harrowing tales of punishment and survival give us a fresh perspective on the societies that we so often romanticize. As much as we are in awe of Rome's architectural splendors, Persia's scientific marvels, England's cultural diversity, and the spiritual depth of the Maya and Egyptians, we should keep in mind that these civilizations, like our own, had a darker side. Thank you for traveling with me on this voyage. Keep in mind that history is full of many more fascinating and occasionally frightful tales. Imagine yourself in the sands of ancient Egypt, standing in the shadows of all the amazing structures that push the boundaries of human creativity. Colosseum-sized pyramids were created by human hands thousands of years ago. Each one is a manifestation of remarkable architectural brilliance and is truly one of a kind. These buildings' immense size and bewildering accuracy suggest a level of skill well beyond